So, I have someone today. I found out she was, I'm trying to not use identifying details, but basically, this person canceled on someone I know and said it's not anyone, no one you guys know. It's just, I'm just trying to be conscious. So, this person canceled a date and said it's because she's queasy. And I just react every time this person says they're sick. I just feel it's not legitimate. I feel like I get really exasperated when I hear that she canceled because she's sick. And the exasperation, I think, is about, will you stop being a martyr? Will you stop expecting people to feel sorry for you? Um, Well, yeah, you just want so much attention for your illness. It's kind of those sorts of feelings that I get really frustrated with. So then I just don't want to be compassionate. So there's some beliefs I'm having there about that person's illegitimacy of being sick.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Okay. We'll follow that stress that you're feeling inside, and you mentioned a few stressful thoughts that could be candidates. Let's just brainstorm a little bit. I'll give you back what you just said, and then you can brainstorm more on what could be the stressful thought to question. So you said something like, "Will you stop being a martyr? You want so much attention for your illness. It's not legitimate." That's just the starting point here. So, how would you brainstorm stressful thoughts in this situation?
Yeah, like so okay, she always wants attention. She's not really sick. She causes her own problems. She is so needlessly weak. Um, she's, yeah, she's a martyr sounds pretty good, kind of encompasses a lot of it. She's a
Hmm.
martyr.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I've heard in the last few seconds here is that she always wants attention. She's not really sick. She causes her own problems. She's so needlessly weak, and she's a martyr. What feels closest to you paying attention to the stress that you're feeling? What are the words that connect with that the closest?
Can you read me the first three on your list again? I heard something there that I was like, yeah,
Sure. I'll just read them all again here.
okay.
There weren't many, I think five. So she always wants attention. She's not really sick. She causes her own problems.
I'm gonna go for she always wants attention.
Okay, great, great. So let's look at that. And the situation is when you found out that she canceled on someone, canceled a date because she said she was queasy, right?
Yes. And
Okay.
so I'm walking outside with my friend, and then my friend mentions this, and I feel it.
Okay. Perfect. So is it true? She always wants attention.
No.
So how do you react? What happens when that thought is in your mind somehow that she always wants attention in this situation? How do you react?
I feel really frustrated. I feel really exasperated. I feel angry. I really want to talk about her. I really want to just say, oh, she's so, um, like, just complain about her. But she is sick and she is old. So I feel terrible. like I feel it's so mean. Like I just become this really mean person, like mean person, not compassionate at all. So I don't like that about myself, feeling that. And that makes me even more mad at her because it's like, well, she didn't want so much attention. I wouldn't have to have this mean part of me come out. So I'm kind of blaming her for my meanness.
Totally.
Um, and
Mhm.
the future is just like, oh, it's really, there's a real role playing in my mind. Like we have to act sorry because that's what a nice person is going to do. Be, oh, you're sick. Like, how are you? And be compassionate. And I don't want to do that. I want to just be like, whatever. I don't want to do that. So I feel like this idea of how I'm going to have to role play, and I don't really want to see her. It kind of, she's someone who's in my life a lot. I kind of don't want to see her. And so, yeah, it's the past images. I just see, oh, there's always this sickness, that sickness, this sickness, that sickness. And so, yeah, I get lost in the frustration of having to role play. Nobody's asked me anything but I feel like, oh, I have to react a certain way. I feel like I have to play this role, and I don't want to because I don't believe it. I don't think I come up with the way she should live her life. So I'm fully in her business. Like I know how her life should be lived, and she's not doing it, and that's why she's sick. And now I'm supposed to be sorry for her. So I'm fully outside of my own business, and I see I'm in everyone else's business because it actually doesn't affect me. But I'm in the business of everybody who is taking care of her or who is compassionate. I don't want them to do it. I want them to be like me. I want everybody to be mean and not buying it. So
Hmm.
I'm really in the business of everyone except for myself because I have no responsibility in this situation.
Yeah. So when you mentioned that this mean part comes out, um, like how do you treat yourself when you see that also in this situation?
It's like I just don't really know what to do with myself. Like I don't want other people to see it. I don't want to express it. So it just feels like I just kind of try and push that part aside, but it's not really successful. It
Hmm.
doesn't leave, but I kind of like, just, you can't be like that. That's how I treat myself. I can't be like that. Um, so I try not to be, but it's still there.
Right. Right. And how about your body? Do you notice any sensation or stress showing up in your body when you think that she always wants attention in this situation?
I I think a bit of shoulder hunching, a bit of inward retraction, kind of and a rigidity, just a general rigidity of not wanting to give something, so having to kind of hold it closed.
Hmm.
Maybe my
And then,
jaw is a little bit tighter.
okay, yeah. And then another thing, like when you think that she always wants attention, do any memories come up from your past? Could be anywhere in your life, could be when you were young, it could be at any point when you think she always wants attention. Does it remind you of anything?
Yeah, well, the biggest one is just at one point about 15 years ago, she showed up in my life at a time I did not want her there. And oh my gosh, I was so mad and I've never forgiven her, really, part of me. And so that's like, it was like wanting attention at it really felt like absolutely taking attention from me. And it's such a, like, I was supposed to get the attention in that point. So that memory shows up as the kind of like, look how much attention she wants. That's how much. So that
Mm-hmm.
memory is like, the proof of not only that attention, but the unwillingness to let me, um, like the total disregard for me that looks like. So that memory is like, it's either always lurking there, and if I get really upset about, it comes out. So that's kind of lurking in the background, that one memory.
Yeah. Yeah. So, who would you be walking with your friend, and they mentioned that she canceled on someone because she felt queasy. You get that news, but you didn't have the thought, she always wants attention. Who would you be hearing that without the thought, she always wants attention?
Well, I wonder if she's okay. Yeah, actually, I'm remembering that I found this out by text. I wasn't walking. I found it out by text because
Mm,
my friend was now free to walk with me. She was supposed to do this other thing. Now she was free. So I'm like, oh, great, I can see her. I just was happy to see my friend, without that thought. It's like, oh,
hmm.
it just has nothing to do with me. Oh, you're free. It's like, so without the thought, that happened. Is she okay? Maybe I'll let someone I wanted to let know about this. So it's kind of like, it's okay, noted information and happiness, because this is good news for me as far as what I'm going to do with my life in the next little while. So who am I without it? Yeah, I just feel like sorry for her that she doesn't feel well. Yeah, I feel compassion. She doesn't have an easy life. She really tries hard. So I'm just fine. I'm free in my life, and I feel compassion for her, and I can let someone know who might be able to help, but I don't have to do anything. I don't. I just feel like I'll, I'll, I'll keep that in mind and see what's next steps, kind of thing. So yeah, I don't get lost in any stories. I don't have to be weighed down by it. I'm just clear.
Yeah. So it's clear from this how this thought carries you away, right? She always wants attention. It just takes you and carries you. It connects to that situation 15 years ago. It brings up all kinds of things, and then all the reaction that you showed comes out of it. And if you weren't introducing that thought, if it wasn't coming in any way, it would just be this simple kind of good information and understanding and compassion for her, more settled, more quiet. So it just still always amazes me that one thought can make such a difference in the experience. But here it is again. So, having seen the effect of that thought, how would you turn the thought around? What could be an opposite that we could play with to just to consider and consider other possibilities of ways of looking at this situation? So the situation or the original statement is she always wants attention, what would a turnaround be?
Well, let me go all the way to she never wants attention.
Okay.
So in this situation, she never wants attention. She's not telling me about it. Um, and I see she never wants attention. Most of the times that I'm annoyed at her have nothing to do with me. Most of the times I'm just hearing how it's impacting other people, nothing to do with me. So she
Mm.
never wants attention. For so many of the times that I'm stressed, she's not wanting attention from me. She's
Wow.
not demanding anything from me at all.
Yeah. She's living her life, and you happen to hear about it, but she wasn't wanting the attention.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Can you find any other examples of that turnaround? She never wants attention, or she doesn't want attention.
Well, she really tries like my mind calls things that she wants attention for. My mind labels it as that, but actually she's like trying to stay out of the way or saying, "Oh, can I get this?" Like she's very much another person looking at her would see her not wanting attention. She's fairly soft spoken. She often defers to other people. She asks what other people want to do first. So her general demeanor is not a person looking for attention.
Hmm.
She has none of those signs of a classic attention seeker at all. She never wants attention. She never seeks like that. She's so understated. Um, so it's yeah, it's and she'll be quiet in a conversation if she starts to talk and the people don't instantly pick up on that. She'll usually just leave it. She won't come back in.
Mm-hmm.
So she never wants attention is a lot more accurate for how she, in reality, shows up in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And if
So
I
where? No, go ahead. Yeah, go
I was
ahead.
just going to look at the 15-year ago for a minute as an example of she
Mm-hmm.
never wants attention. And I don't know what was going on there. But again, it wasn't really trying to get attention. It's not what was happening. So that wasn't really an example of her actually wanting attention. That was an example of something going off and me thinking stuff and whatever was happening was off. But she wasn't like, hey, everybody, I'm here. Look at me. It wasn't that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So where do you think you got this idea that she always wants attention, or that she wants attention? What was your mind doing there, or where was it coming from?
It's almost like thinking it's like a deceitful, like it's almost like my mind's like, oh, like it's a um thinking that this must be a ploy. um
Mm.
there's like it's like not trusting her. It's not trusting her. My thinking and me, I guess, is where it's sort of, it's like I'm going to talk about what's underneath, like expose this.
Right. Right. Yeah. Like, and what's the motive behind that? Why would the mind want to do that?
Well, one of the things that I saw with how who would you be without the thought was like there's no threat to giving her compassion without the thought. There's no threat to me. And so I'm wondering if it's like if I give her what she wants, I lose somehow.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. starting to remind me of what you were talking about 15 years ago, like where it was your turn to get attention and somehow she came along and then she ended up getting the attention instead of
Right.
you or something. I don't know.
Yes. Right.
So she
Yeah.
may not have wanted the attention, but she may have, but from your experience, you lost an opportunity for
Mhm.
something. I don't know.
Yes, and it was yes, so I think that I felt very vulnerable in that memory, and it was my attention who left me really in that moment for sure and looked at her, and, so that's like that sting of that, I think is yeah, it's this I think it's associated with, all the kids being born and when they were babies and I was vulnerable, and I think it's associated with that protective feeling and then feeling violated or unsafe. And so I've just kept that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Right. So yeah, you just kept it, and then anytime you hear anything about her doing
Right,
anything, it's like boom,
right,
she wants attention. Like, and you can build
right.
a story over 15 years. It gets
Yes,
pretty large.
yes,
Yeah, everything goes to prove that. That's what the mind does. It finds a story and then tries to prove it.
yeah,
Okay. So, but it's interesting to see that that's coming from possibly just that that vulnerability you were experiencing and not like trying to protect yourself or wanting to.
right.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting to look at this, and this is all in the context of she never wants attention. Like it's
Right,
possible that all throughout this whole thing she's never wanted attention,
right.
but you've you by happenstance she ended up getting your attention when you didn't want to give it, and
Yes,
then you felt resentment, and then the thing continued to the story continued to grow over time.
yeah.
Okay, so she always wants attention. Is there another turnaround?
Yeah, so I always want attention and connecting that in that way of, like, wanting people to take care of me and notice me in that way, um, I feel like I'm trying to get back the attention of that time. Like,
Mhm.
I was supposed to be, just taken care of, like, I wanted it then, I felt I lost it, even though I didn't, looking at it, I didn't, and I always want attention, I wanna go back in time and change that moment. So I always want it in that way of just, like, never giving up the desire for that attention at that moment. And then, I always want attention in how I compete with her indirectly, um, in how I see that she's a threat. Like, my conditioning is like, it's a threat. It's a threat if she's getting attention. I always want the attention, not her. So, I always want it when I'm around her, and that belief comes up. I instantly want the attention. I want it taken away from her. I want to go back in time and get the attention then. So I see that's really running in me as a pretty constant want for that attention that I didn't get, that I believed I didn't get.
Mhm.
And it's
Mhm.
it's very constant. So always is a good word for it.
Interesting. Yep. Yep. Those words that come out in the moment of stress, they often are really true,
Yeah.
especially when turned around. So yeah, I always want attention. It's like you're competing with her for a limited amount of attention somehow, and um, and somehow you're seeing her as winning, and there it's that scarcity that feels so desperate in a way. Um, so I always want attention.
There's
Yeah.
also
Any other
the
turn?
yeah,
Go
I was
ahead.
just gonna say with I always want attention, I also see how I can be quiet somewhere and wanting attention, um, myself. Like, I can be everybody's talking about something and whatever reason I'm not into it, or and I always want the attention and I keep quiet about it. So I see how that can I can put that on her because it's my experience of hiding my desire for attention when I
Mm,
want it.
yeah. Yeah. Cool. Um, I was just thinking it kind of leads to possibly some more work on that 15-year ago situation, like possibly a judge or neighbor work cheat on her, or more work like this on one-liners, and maybe even just questioning the the motive in that situation. I want attention. Just that one thought, I want attention, and seeing in that situation how it affects you and who you'd be without it, and all of that. So there's
Mhm.
possible more exploration, but we kind of touched on it quite a bit in this situation as well. Okay, so anything else before we close here on this particular statement?
No, just maybe my thinking wants attention. I definitely leave reality and stay in my thinking about her. It's I always choose my thinking over her. Um, my thinking wants attention, always wants the attention. And then just the last thing I would say with what you were saying about looking at this further, I totally think I should. And I see that there's like this very strong belief that I lost something 15 years ago. Like
Mm,
I
hmm.
lost it forever. And
Hmm.
there's like, oh, a little resistance to working on it, like because of that loss. So I think something about that loss is good for me to check out if I really did lose it and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes when I notice resistance to doing some work, I that tells me something. That's probably a good one to look at, right? Like if I
Mhm.
notice embarrassment about wanting to work something or resistance about wanting to work something, I'm going to have to be gentle with myself. I can't push myself, but it's often a good sign that there's something there that I'm trying, like my ego is trying to cover up, or I'm trying to keep under wraps, and it's causing me ongoing stress. So yeah, however you explore it, I think that situation from 15 years ago could be very interesting to look at. Cool. Well,
Yeah.
thank you.